When I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
my head up.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just.
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Moss?
Oh, my heart.
Happy 20th anniversary.
My heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Done.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. Listen, as you can plainly tell, I'm a black man. I speak English right here in North America, city of Baltimore, state of Maryland. And if you grew up where I grew up, North Avenue, North and Greenmount, Patterson Park and Lanville, Moreland and Baker, then you've seen a lot of things. Some good, some not so good. You've seen, a lot of recreation centers, how recreation centers saved our lives back in the 70s and 80s. Easterwood first rec I think I ever went to was Cecil Kirk over on Kirk Avenue off of North and Homewood. Damn, they drowned in that pool around there. Tough days. There were a lot of fights. Just down the street from North and Greenmount, a bunch of prisons. I remember when I finally landed at Dunbar after 2 years at Poly, got a chance to play football at Dunbar, JV football. Right across the street from Sugarcane Field, you could see the whole panoramic view. Reception, diagnostic, classification, Supermax, the Fish Bowl, penitentiary, the city jail, now central booking. And I'm talking about mass incarceration. Did you know that America, and I've said this fact multiple times here on air, America has 5% of the world's population. 5%. 5%. Yet we have 25% of the world's inmates. So what does that mean for me, a black man who lives in 21217, the most socioeconomically deprived district in the state of Maryland? It means that over half of the black men that I see on a daily basis have done time in prison. I've never done a day in prison. Thank you, Lord. And if you're watching this broadcast, we ask that you share it. Share it with your audience, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Good morning to all. Thank you for joining us. But today we're here to talk about a very important topic. It's called mass incarceration. When we give away these Joe Mann's Black Wall Street Awards, we celebrate black entrepreneurs and professionals, as well as the people who support them, regardless of race. We want to celebrate entrepreneurship in our community. because we believe entrepreneurship is a way up and out for our people. We believe that although Black people tend to get locked up a lot, there's some positive attributes that if we just shift them, we will be a stronger community, like taking some of that $1.6 trillion in annual disposable income and spending them on a Black business. Then they can hire my brother when he comes out of prison, or my sister when she comes out of prison, or my, family or friends or what have you. We can get them a job. We have the power. We have the power to change our trajectory if we just believe in ourselves. If we have that much faith, help me somebody. So we're waiting on our guest today. I guess he got a little sidetracked. So we're going to check on him, see if he's going to come through. Our man, Victor Pate. So we're going to do this via phone right now, okay? So you just stay right there. We're going to put this on the phone, all right? Good. All right, so joining us today live from New York City. What city are you in, sir? Victor?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that question. Go ahead again.
What city are you in?
New York City. New York City.
So I was just about to go through the stats. We as a people, an American people, Black, white, Asian, Latino, Eskimo, and everybody in between. We make up 5% of the world's population. America. That's how many people here, about 400 million, and we represent 5%. But yet we have 25% of the world's inmates, and half of them look like me and you. Let me give you a stat I ran across.
Incarcerated persons. That's the new language. Incarcerated person. We shy away from using those words, inmate.
Incarcerated persons. A Black woman is imprisoned at 1.6 times the rate of white women. Black men were imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white men. So as a Black man, I'm 5 times more likely to become incarcerated than my white counterparts. What's wrong with that number, Mr. Vic?
It speaks to the injustice and the disparities and the disproportionateness with our population. People of color and indigenous people are overly incarcerated, but it also speaks to the the criminal legal system. What I have, because it's a misnomer to say criminal justice, because there is no equal justice when you talk about the numbers that you just articulated in terms of the population and comparison to the percentages of population that's incarcerated. So what's wrong with that picture is there's disproportionate implementation of justice.
Barred from employment, more than half of the unemployed men in their 30s had a criminal history of arrest. By age 35, approximately 50% of Black men in the survey have been arrested. 35% have been convicted and 25% have been incarcerated. That means 1 in 4 Black men have done time in prison. And in my neighborhood, it seems more like 7 or 8 and 10. Matter of fact, in my neighborhood, you are an oddball if you have not been to prison.
You ain't got your stripe yet, so to speak.
Well, I guess I won't be getting no damn stripes.
And I hope you never ever get one.
So we got Saintiny Voices. Saintiny. Saintiny Voices says she's a New Yorker too. Brooklyn and Yonkers. Who is Vic? Mr. Vic Carter is an advocate, Saintiny Voices. He is an advocate for formerly incarcerated persons, and he's a huge advocate in New York City. As a matter of fact, his claim to fame, if I may say, is fighting against solitary confinement and bringing awareness to the damaging social and psychological effects and what happens to a person who has been Santini. Okay. People who have been incarcerated and what they've gone through in solitary. Tell us about the solitary, Mr. Vic.
The worst thing that could ever happen to a person in their lives, in addition to being incarcerated, for a person to be held in a cage the size of a parking space for 23 to 24 hours a day. The lights stay on 24 hours a day. You're alone in your cell. You have no other human contact other than the prison staff, which oftentimes look at you as a non-person, right? Oftentimes, you're not giving the basic human rights, which is showers and food and medical care, as you should be humanly
afforded
given when you're incarcerated. So being in solitary confinement, it is considered torture. It is inhumane, right? It creates collateral damages. Let me say it like that. It creates collateral damages for the person that's held in solitary confinement. It does not create a system of safety for the facility in terms of the correctional facility, and it sure does nothing for the safety of our communities. And you have people oftentimes that are released back to the community directly from solitary confinement. So if you will, imagine a person that's been in hell for solitary confinement for 10 years.
10 years?
10 years, and they have never had other human contact. They haven't had opportunity to have conversations with other people, and they've just been alone for 10 years. And you all of a sudden open up the gate and tell them to go home. How do you think that person is going to be able to reintegrate in the community? That person does not come out with a ability to, number one, communicate with people, interact with other people, and to basically function as a human being, because everything has been taken from them and they have been dehumanized and have been decreased to the lowest form of life that a person could possibly ever endure. So solitary confinement is inhumane. It has been termed torture by the UN rapporteur then, Juan Mendez, in 2011. A report came out of the UN, General Assembly, that says any contact or any person that has been in solitary confinement, especially beyond 15 days, is considered torture. So that's torture.
Here's a question from Santini Voices, New York City. What is the status of correctional officers in the facility, white versus other race? What is the status of correctional officers in the facility? And number two, how are those correctional officers interacting with the prisoners, with the incarcerated persons?
So when you're talking about, I guess you could say, ethnic makeup of correctional officers in comparison to people that are incarcerated, it usually depends on what county and how far away that facility is, as well as the security level of that facility. So you have max, mediums, and minimums. In most of the maximum security prisons in New York, you have a percentage, maybe 60, 70, 75% of white correctional officers compared to, a lower percentage of black corrections officers. And most of these people that are staffed in these facilities live in and around the particular counties in which these prisons are located. So they're good old boys and good old girls that work in that. And they depend on the bodies of people in these correctional facilities for their living style, so to speak. Right? Yeah. The relationship you have is almost non-existent because it's totally about control. And most of the people that are held in these prisons, especially in New York, most of the people come from the 5 boroughs. So, of course, there is no real communication or understanding about the cultural dynamics of people who come from New York City, Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island, and now they are 800 miles away, and in this city or state or county where you got nothing but farmers for the most part, you know what I'm saying? And all of their families are working in these prisons. So the relationship is just about non-existent. The ability to communicate is non-existent. And what it translates into is abuse and inhumane treatment, because like anything else, you know what I'm saying, it's always the control of the master over the slave. And of course, when you're in prison, you are a slave. So the communications is just about null and void and non-existent.
Here's another question. Santini Voices, we're going to send you a link because you might as well just come in and join us on the show. So here's the link. But here's the question. Do you think that black men are arrested more so they don't have power positions later on in life? Believe it. I'm not quite understanding your latest question. So Santini, why don't you come on and hit that link and you can come in and pose your questions directly. But here's a question for you, Victor Pate, when it comes to solitary confinement. Women go through this as well.
Of course.
And Natasha White, one of our teammates, comes to mind. Tell me about women in this situation.
Is she on, or you? Is that
No. That's the question for you. I will reach out to her.
Oh, okay. So basically, like I say, talking to my female comrades that have to go through this torturous circumstances, it's twice or triple times as worse for them being women, because they definitely have different needs psychologically and physiologically than men do. And I think that because of the fact that a lot of these women that are in these facilities are overseen by male correctional officers, and more times than not, that ability for men to have that kind of control over women in a controlled environment invites the opportunity for over abuse. So it can easily wind up in solitary confinement for a lot of different reasons, more often than reasons that men might wind up in solitary confinement. So that situation with our sisters being placed in solitary confinement is, a lot more worse for them than it is for us. So I think that it's double abusive for women when they are incarcerated, and especially when you have men that are responsible for overseeing the security and care of female, and of course that creates opportunities for other things. So
you're talking about sexual abuse.
Much worse.
You're talking about sexual abuse. So women,
all of that.
Women are dealing with inmates who, I'm sorry,
incarcerated persons.
Women are dealing with correctional officers who are coming at them for sex.
That's right. That's right. And because they don't comply, they wind up in solitary confinement or worse.
Yes, Frank, we're talking about mass incarceration. America has 5% of the world's population. We have 25% of the world's incarcerated persons. We have almost as many people as China. China is 5-6 times bigger than the United States. And quite often, Frank, these people look like you and I. Black people only make up 13% of the U.S. population, yet we fill up half of the prisons. And black women are the fastest growing demographic. What are black women incarcerated for typically, Mr. Vic?
Not most of them, but what you find, a lot of them, it stems from a domestic violence issue. Oftentimes, I know we were working on the Domestic Survivors Justice Act here in New York, which we got passed a few years back. And what that basically related to, that you found that a lot of the women that were incarcerated, they were incarcerated because of them, I guess you can say, clapping back on the abuser that had been abusing them physically and psychologically in their relationship. So a lot of them were in there for some type of an assault or even a murder or even an attempted murder. And of course, oftentimes their response, is a result of years and years of abuse. So a lot of our sisters that's incarcerated, a lot of them stems from domestic violence and abuse in their relationship from their partners, or either through somebody in their family, that's sexual or otherwise.
How much does the sexually deviant behavior, since our people are in and out of prison so much, how much of that behavior comes back uptown, the sexually deviant behavior?
I guess a lot. Just my, things in terms of, collateral damages,
and I would say it metastasizes, it festers, because it is quite often not addressed.
That is true. That is true. And a lot of times, because of the, I guess the reason, the purpose of the prison industrial complex is not to treat symptoms, but to punish. And the incarceral system is a punitive system where you don't go there and, as they use the term, correction, because there's nothing correcting about incarcerating and abusing and dehumanizing people in your care and your custody. That if you're supposed to be given an opportunity to be held accountable, then that accountability should contain some type of transformativeness, some type of reform, some type of opportunity for redemption, some opportunity for a person to be better than they were before they went in. Our carceral system is not designed for that. It's totally punitive.
Who does have that kind of system? Is there such a country?
Mostly countries, Norway, Eastern countries and I know I've heard a lot about the incarceral system in Norway, how their system are basically designed for people to be have an opportunity to reintegrate within their communities, and a lot of the facilities are even in the communities that don't even have walls or bars. They're almost living in a housing complex, although they are under the care, custody, and control of that state or whatever the case may be. But their design of incarceration is more humane, more transformative, and more rehabilitative.
Michael Randolph out of Tampa Bay, Florida says within the last 5 years, Black females are 123% more likely to be a victim of gun homicide compared to other groups. Within the last 5 years, Black females are 123% more likely to be a victim of gun homicide compared to other groups. Why are we seeing this rise in female homicide victims? Are more women turning gangster? What was that movie? Set It Off? Do we have more women selling drugs, robbing banks, sticking up people in gangs, gang-related, so on and so forth?
In my humble opinion, I would attribute that a lot to of course, the incarceration rate of males leaving families and communities devastated with no leaders, leaving households with no fathers and, no role models and stuff like that. So women have to take on that role. Oftentimes, they have to take on this role, and they have to become man, woman, father, mother, and every other type of relationship to this here. And oftentimes, in their efforts to be that person, they oftentimes run into circumstances that really, men should be there to handle. And because women are there, they oftentimes have to step to their business as if they were a man. And of course, that's not a good look for our community, which it does happen more often in our communities than any other communities. So I think that a lot of times they are placed in harm's way as a result of that, because of the different roles that they have to take on, because of the lack of the male in the community, in the family, and in society. Because as you stated in terms of your numbers and the way you articulated that, we are of the high percentage of people that are incarcerated more than any other ethnic group.
Michael Randolph goes on to say that study also showed that black people account for 60% of the gun homicide and represent only 14% of the population. Why are we killing soldiers in our own army? Who made killing another black man popular? Everybody want to murk somebody. I want to murk you. I'm going to shoot you. MF and dead. MF and dead. Die, die, die. You're killing soldiers in your own army and you think you're slick till you get behind that jail cell.
It's a different deal. That's right. It's a different page behind there. Believe me. So here's my humble opinion about that. So the proliferation of weapons and guns is by no chance. It's not by chance. It's by design. Because guess what? We don't manufacture, nor do we own any gun manufacturing outlets. We do not own any international shipping abilities, right? So when you talk about the availability of weapons and guns and things of that nature that cause harm in our own community, it's brung in by outsiders into our communities to make it accessible. And of course, you got people who the lifestyle that they live is necessary for them to protect their hood. So of course they have access to weaponry to protect their hood. But guess what? They're not protecting their hood. They're waging war on their hood. Because guess what? Those weapons are used in our communities to cause harm to each other. And it's the trick. That's part of the trick, you know what I'm saying? To make you believe you need to be concerned from safety of in your own community. And because they make these weapons available and they foster the violence because of a lot of different reasons, lack of access to income, jobs, education, mental health treatment, services, all of that plays a part in the big picture of why there's so much violence in our communities on each other.
All right, this is from Santini Voices. Do you think that the reason why black men are arrested more than other races is because the black man quite often doesn't have power positions later in life? And I might have gotten that twisted, but let me give you the follow-up explanation to that question. And this is from Santini. She's saying that too many of us think it's that life is a video game. Our people need to be entrepreneurs and make money. That will make a change. She had another point. Some power positions, you cannot have any arrest record. So I guess that's a loaded question. So let me first of all, we're being joined by your fabulous comrade. Her name is Natasha White. She's from the BK.
Yeah.
ASA. Hey, Mr. Vic, she always be threatening me about a Brooklyn basement. I told her I ain't scared of no Brooklyn basement.
Victor knows not to believe that. I do not threaten people. I do not threaten people.
She's like, I'm for BK. Don't make me stuff you in a Brooklyn basement.
Right.
Victor, how are you? What are you been talking about this morning?
This morning, we're talking with Mr. Vic about a topic that you often are talking about, and the reason you and I met, along with Gwen Levy and so many others, we're talking about mass incarceration and its impact on the black community. And so, since we have you here, please come in and chime in. We've touched on.
So I heard you. Hold on. Why?
I'm not scared of you, Brooklyn. We're talking about.
Why do we keep calling this mass incarceration? Mass means mass.
What is it? What is it then?
Hold on. Let me get my point out.
She coming in. That's Brooklyn for you.
Mass means it affects everybody, right?
It does.
It affects us. It affects all of us.
So what do you want to call it then?
Modern day slavery. That's what the hell it is.
Well, there you have it.
That's right. I knew she would get the record straight.
That's what it is. It ain't mass incarceration. Mass incarceration affects everybody. The word mass affects an area equally. Incarceration does not affect the area equally. It affects our area. Now let's roll.
So
I guess she told you.
I guess you did. So Natasha, tell me about the effects of solitary confinement on women.
Oh man, well, solitary I think maintenance is at my door. My ceiling fell in, but hold on a second. I will answer you in a minute. Who is it?
She's such a bully. That's your comment. How did you meet Natasha, Mr. Vic?
We hired her as a part-time organizer for our New York solitary confinement campaign. She was already in the arena. Actually, we had known each other through different coalition work. We had got some funding, and we were looking to hire part-time organizers.
Why you send her down here to Maryland? Why you send her to Maryland to harass me?
First of all, that's not how we met. We met in the trenches. We were in a voting registration thing.
Now you cracking slick on Mr. Vic, and that's where the fight broke out. Put him up, Brooklyn. Put him up.
Listen, Victor, y'all, I only got a minute. I got maintenance in here. My ceiling fell in the other day, and now they're coming back to paint after they put the ceiling back together yesterday, because I'm not going to sit under this. However we met, we were supposed to meet, and I've been active ever since, right? But listen to me, I want to make something very important. I jumped on this show just to let you be aware of something. We have a phone to action that I have tagged you in. It is a letter to all of the legislators in Maryland. Our bill, the solitary confinement bill, will go to the floor March 6th in the Senate and then March 7th in the House. I need you and everybody you know to click, put your name and address in that link, and it'll automatically send that letter to all 192 legislators in your state.
What link?
The link, I tagged you, and I will send it to you via email. You have to share the link yourself.
You can't put it in these comments because we're talking to these people right now.
Let me see. I would have to go. Hold on. I got you. Let me see.
I see you still got that Pac-Man machine in the background.
Yeah, that's the only thing that didn't get wet. I had to buy a new computer and everything. I'm so annoyed with this bull crap.
It's called renter's insurance.
Fortunately, you have the funding to buy it with.
Yeah,
let me hold a grand. Let me hold a grand.
That's all?
Yeah.
I will be in Maryland. I will be in Annapolis the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. My birthday is the 6th. I hope you're coming to take me to somewhere to eat. I thought we spoke about this already. I just put the link in the chat.
Are you talking to me or Mr. Vic?
I'm talking to you.
Calm down, Brooklyn.
I'm trying to pass that off on me, Donnie.
I did. I'm not used to all of this aggression.
It's early in the morning. I'm at my first cup of coffee, and they're already putting me out of my office.
It sounds like she got a very mean pit bull with her or something.
She's a bomb chief. She's acting crazy because I put her in her cage while maintenance been in here. Bro, shut up.
He said I can't hide. I don't talk to my dog like that.
She's a pain in the ass.
Okay, black people are at a high rate. So let's get to some history.
Yes, get out so she can stop. Put the maintenance people out.
Natasha, you mentioned modern day slavery. The truth is, did slavery ever end? When slavery officially ended?
Once the exception was made, slavery did not end. That is
what exception? That
the exception that slavery is abolished unless you are convicted of a crime. What's the confusion? My biggest issue with our system is that people actually think it's broken. It was created that way to do what it is doing. It was created to dismantle the black household. Was created to keep black people stagnant. Even the churches were created to do that, to tell you to be poor so you can go to heaven. Get the hell out of here. How does that make sense?
Or it says, slaves, be loyal to your masters.
Exactly. Be loyal to your master.
Okay. Go to sleep.
They are asleep. Wake up. This is what we need to be doing. We need to be waking up. And the reason why the numbers are the way they are is because we don't have any power. We don't have any because people are too scared to push for some. You'll vote for somebody that you know is not going to do you any good, as long as they're not doing you any more harm. That's crazy.
How does this work on the national front? This is a presidential election year.
Well, people are going to vote for Trump because he gives away money. That's why. They said anything for $1. Anything for $1. The problem is not who we're voting for. The problem is not that we're voting for the wrong people. The problem is the wrong people are running. Give me a shot at the presidency, baby. You can't cry about who has the power if you're not trying to get any of your own. I with the work that I do, I see people that are stagnated and hold their self victim. They are scared of progress. They are scared to be uncomfortable. Baby, you can't get no more uncomfortable than being in a cell for 23 hours a day the size of a parking spot. You ask me about women in solitary. We have the highest rate of sexual assault, being sexually assaulted by an officer, being physically assaulted by an officer, venereal infections. Can you imagine being a woman in solitary for 4 years? You know how many showers I took in 4 years? I was lucky if I took 2 showers a week. Every other day I had to wash up out of a bucket with 1 set of water in it. That means once the water is soapy, it stays soapy. That alone, having your menstrual cycle, you don't have no maxi pads. You don't have no tissue. An officer ain't never got to open your door and give it to you. Who you going to tell? Who you going to tell? So now you're in your cell, funky, itching, and most likely about to catch some type of infection. And then you got this redneck, racist rapist with a set of keys at your door and a badge. So that's how it is. It is the most inhumane, degrading form of torture I've ever experienced in my life. And I thank God that, as a child, I was diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder, right? And at this time, I'm grateful for it. Because the only reason I am not batshit crazy is because I was mad as hell. And I vowed that when I got out of that cell, somebody was going to pay for what the hell they did to me. And now everybody's going to pay, no matter where I go. I'm in Maryland. I'm in Virginia because people like Victor taught me what to do in New York. And I don't need to be in New York. My team is deep in New York. I need to be here where these people are still self-oppressed and scared to make themselves uncomfortable, as if you ain't already uncomfortable. Make that shit make sense. You rather be uncomfortable for doing nothing or uncomfortable for doing actually something?
If we going down, you might as well get some licks in.
Right, get your licks in. Right.
I'll be there, you'll be punching me in my drill.
I don't understand the concept of coming into a fight with your hands down. That's
that's not happening.
That makes no sense.
I need to connect on that eye,
right,
couple to the throat,
right,
that uppercut. And then what's that cat from Brooklyn? You don't remember him. You too young to remember. Victor remember Mark Breland.
I never even heard of him.
Mark Breland? Oh my God. Mark Breland, straight out of Brooklyn. You better look him up.
Crazy. Yo, he is crazy. Victor, what? This man is out of his damn mind.
That's the governor. The governor of Maryland is talking there. The governor of Maryland.
He should
I tried to tell him.
I seen, and I don't like to bash people that I don't know. I've never had a conversation with Governor Westmore, never. But I did see some, I don't know what it was on. It was on social media though, and he was saying that when he goes into the community and he talks to these young Black teenagers, he sees himself. Well, my question is, those young Black teenagers most likely will end up in prison if you're in Baltimore talking to them. Do you see yourself there?
Well, I'm proud to say that we have had a ministry. It's called Love for L. We had a relationship with the warden, and this has been 2006, 2007, Mr. Vic. We would go to city jail. We would go to visit the 14 to 17-year-olds charged with adult crimes. And it was the greatest effort that we've ever done. I know it's been several years. We don't have that relationship anymore. We've tried. But in those visits, I will tell you, it was the greatest work that we've ever done, Mr. Vic. Can you relate?
They can relate in terms of that there because, with our juveniles, and we got to raise the age bill passed in New York State in terms of the level of age of responsibility in which they can charge juveniles as adults. So we had to get done with that, right? I visited a few juvenile facilities while I was doing coalition work on a different platform, and the level upon which they had our juveniles incarcerated under, they were creating monsters. Let me just say it like that. They were creating monsters because the type of services and lack thereof, the treatment that they receive. And I myself was incarcerated as a juvenile.
Me too.
In the early gladiator school of Spotsford.
Me too.
Correctional facility for juveniles. And that's where I became a gladiator at a very young age because I was 9 years old. And my first experience of being incarcerated. And I can tell you, I was a violent person when I came out of there. I was bad when I was in the neighborhood, but I was very violent when I came out of there. And so these juvenile facilities are at least for our people, because of the over incarceration and the over policing our communities and preparing, as they say, the school to prison pipeline. That's very real. So we had to do something about that here in New York. We have to do something here around the country. And I know juvenile issues is a very big topic of discussion in a lot of different states now. And I think we need to keep this on the radar and amplify our juveniles being incarcerated at a young age and the collateral damages that would happen. And you heard my sister Natasha speak about the effects, of incarceration on women and even young girls. So I can imagine, like I say, a young girl going into a correctional setting at a very young age and having to kind of sort of like become a gladiator. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That prepares you for the next level, which is adult prisons. And they prepared me for that. And that took me through 15 years of my life before I finally hung up my hat and retired and set my little behind down.
Let me tell you something. The majority of the girls that I was in Spofford with, and from Spofford I went to, so I was locked up as a juvenile as well. As a matter of fact, I was in Spofford with the Central Park Five, the four of them that actually made it to Spofford, because one of them went to Rikers. And as the girls, I was 13, and we used to spit on them. Like, can you imagine a group of girls spitting on a table full of boys that will eventually be grown-ass men? That's how bad it was. You talk about gladiator school, like Tryon. I was in Tryon. I went from Spofford to Tryon. I got incarcerated right after my 13th birthday. I didn't come home until December before I turned 18. But the majority of the people that I was locked up with as an adult, I was locked up with as a child. If there were 10 girls standing on the line, 8 of us had been to DFY. That's what it's called, Division for Youth. We call it down for years. Because once you get in the system, you ain't getting out. Not only that, 85% of children of incarcerated parents will go to prison.
How many generations have you seen at one time incarcerated?
I can tell you how many generations in my family have been incarcerated.
At the same time. At the same time.
3. The mother,
Grandfather,
grandmother,
father,
and the granddaughter.
Grandmother, mother, granddaughter.
Yes.
Have you seen that, Mr. Vic?
Definitely sure. Fathers and sons,
yes,
incarcerated at the same time at the same facility. You know what I'm saying? I have seen generational incarceration, and it's just like it just goes on and goes on and on. You know, grandsons,
that in my own family,
great grandsons, all of that.
What are we going to do? We got young men out here standing on our corners all day, every day, thinking it's slick. Jimmy Britton said the slickest, I want y'all all to hear me. Jimmy Britton, mentor, big brother, friend. He said the slickest thing you can ever do is stop being slick.
Right. Yo, I put this thing, the link in the comments, right? I have to go because I'm working. But what I was gonna say.
Hey, good hearing you, sir, and congratulations on the progress you're making in Virginia.
Oh yeah. We're on our way to the governor's desk. Well, Governor Youngkin's a Trumpian. Like, what the hell?
Y'all throwing out these acronyms. What is ASA?
Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
I didn't know you got. Hey, I just want to know.
Yeah, you talking Muslim? You got Muslims on your call this morning.
Yeah, this is a Muslim friendly broadcast. So salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You don't want to be an uninformed mayor of Maryland, right?
No, and I've seen the abbreviation in text.
The two closest New York comrades are Muslim. You need to know that.
La ilaha illallah, okay?
Right.
There's none but God. We're very aware. I just wasn't ready for that. You know, New Yorkers always coming up with these abbreviations and shortening stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I'll tell you this.
I think we started with the ASA through email because nobody wants to typo out Assalamu alaikum.
Right. Fair enough. But let me tell you this. Let me tell you what I know about Mr. Vic. If you go through Harlem, all of a sudden, people start calling his name from across the street. Everybody
loves Victor. Victor's
everybody. They shout out Mr. Vic because they know his level of advocacy. And if it were not for him, I wouldn't have met you.
Right.
And by the way, you know, you were supposed to be at the last Black Wall Street, Natasha White, but we won't forget.
Listen, I run 2 states. You lucky I'm here at my desk right now.
You heard that? Did you heard? You lucky she's here. You heard?
You text me, I came on. Don't
you
do
need
this.
Jesus.
You don't want to argue. I don't like arguing with you in public because, I'm not into demasculating men. De-emasculating men, but
I just want to say this to you, Brooklyn. I want to say this to you.
Don't do it.
Try Jesus, but don't try me.
Yeah, I love you. Listen, guys, I gotta go. I have clients I gotta be on the phone with.
Hey,
Donnie, I'm gonna call you later. I need your help.
Talk, sis, all right?
ASA.
Power to the people.
Thank you, Natasha. So, Mr. Vic, you have an army of Natashas. We heard from Gwen Levy. Apparently, she's a little busy this morning. Why do these formerly incarcerated people, why do they flock to you, Mr. Vic?
Well, I wouldn't say flock to me. I think they flock to the cause because it's something that affects all of us and humankind. And I think that because of the fact that we, especially those of us who have been just as impacted and been on the plantation, understand that those of us that are closest to the problem are closest to the solution. Now, that phrase, I have to give this phrase where it came from, was coined by one of my colleagues. His name is Glenn Martin. He is the former CEO and founder of Just Leadership USA. And he said this one day when we were in a coalition meeting, that those of us who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution. which basically means that the remedy, the formula, the way, the solution, the resolve to a lot of these problems that we in our communities are faced with and have to deal with every day is right there within and amongst our own selves. So those of us who have been on the plantation, who have experienced the inhumanity and make it more humane, more transformative, and more rehabilitative. Because if corrections are supposed to correct, then it should be that platform, that opportunity for a person to come out better than they were before they went in. And we know what that takes. So we got the answer.
Mr. Vic, what contact information do we want to put out there for you?
So in order, well, first of all, my position, I'm one of the co-directors of the Halt Solitary Confinement Campaign, which is the coalition that successfully advocated for 8 years and got our solitary confinement bill passed in the New York State Legislature in 2021. And right now it has been implemented in New York State prisons to limit the amount of time that anybody can be held in solitary confinement down to 15 days. So all you got to do is Google haltsolitary.org, and everything will come up about the coalition, the work we're doing here in New York, what we're working on right now, any specific campaigns. Our monthly meeting is held every Monday at 6 p.m. I'll send that to you, Doni, and you can share it with your viewing audience in case anybody from Maryland would like to join our monthly coalition call, which is the first Monday of every month, and I'll send that to you when we get off of this call.
Good deal.
So we invite everybody to come and be a part of that meeting, to listen, to give input, and hear what we're doing here in New York. But not only in New York, because we are a statewide coalition, and Tasha is a part of that. It's called unlockthebox.org. That is a larger collaborative that has 23 Unlock the Box Coalition campaign of people that are working to end solitary confinement in their respective states.
Good deal. Mr. Vic, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for keeping it going. And we will see you in April. We will see you in April for Black Wall Street and for the National Action Network, the panel discussion.
They know that the mayor of Maryland is going to be on the criminal justice panel at the National Action Network, April the 13th. Do they know that?
If you don't know now, you know.
They should know. That's right. The mayor of Baltimore is going to be on the criminal justice panel at the National Action Network's annual convention, April 13th. That's the panel date, but the actual convention is going to be from April 10th to the 13th. I'm sorry, but our panel is the 13th. So I'm so proud of you, and I'm looking forward to that. So thank you for having me as always.
And look, where will it be in New York City?
It will be at the Sheraton Hotel, located 811 7th Avenue at 53rd Street. 811 7th Avenue at 53rd Street, Sheraton Hotel. And it's free. All you got to do is register. It don't cost you not one coin. It's free. Just register. And I'll send you that a link, a flyer, and all that other kind of stuff. Oh, just Google National Action Network, and it will come up.
Just typing in here. Got Frank Johnson out there making noise. He says send the link. Okay, we got it up there. National Action Network. We love and respect you, Mr. Vic. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for always answering the phone when we call you up about a Black Wall Street. Of course, we're going to need some honorees for Friday, April the 12th. I've already secured it with the Harlem Business Alliance. And
I got my man Terrell already on it. as you requested. He's already on it. I'm going to call him after we get off this call to find out where we are. You remember you asked me about him, so I passed it on. He got the baton.
Yes, sir. Love and respect, Mr. Vic. Up to date, down to Mars. Yes, sir. Do your day and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. If you are behind the walls, or if you know someone who is behind the walls, there are resources out there. Do not give up. If you're suffering with substance abuse, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, there are resources out there. My name is Donnie Glover. If you have some challenges, give me a call and see what I can do to help you. 443-858-2684. Good morning, world.